What?
He had trouble counting.
I guess.
Now the time I say help, I'm being kidnapped. I have no idea where I am.
Mm-hmm. We're live.
Cool. Hi everyone, I'm Joe Badagno here in Hyderabad, India. So a little bit away from my normal hometown. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Joe Badagno. I'm a Senior Director of Rocket Mortgage in the United States. But enough about me. You can follow me on any one of the social media things. I'll pull up this slideshow at the end when we are done. So the agenda today is basically hello Hyderabad. We're going to talk about just a couple of things, some current trends in technology, as well as just some things about being employable and so on. I'm going to skip this for the sake of time, but I was told that he's going to cause a riot if I don't show it. So let's talk about technologies. In the connected world, we have a lot of up-and-coming technologies. IoT is really not up-and-coming, but there's a lot of innovations coming up in this space in the next year and a half. You'll see a lot in the automotive industry. There's a lot of self-driving cars now, and Alexa devices inside of cars and other things that make it easier. So this is one area to look into. Next is, which is becoming really popular now, is voice-based assistants. So things like Google, Alexa, and Bixby. I don't know how much about Bixby, but those are, for those that have Samsung devices, they're pushing really hard to get people to like it, but it's actually pretty terrible right now. But creating apps for Google and Alexa are becoming super popular as we have more and more of these devices in our household. And then the home and life automation in our connected world. I know that at my house, I have almost the entire house is connected in some way, shape, or form, except for the kids and the wife. That's next step. We will have Android wives and kids. But I can turn off the lights, turn on the lights, turn off and on the heater, anything in the house pretty much. And that's where a lot more of the industry is moving forward. So we have IoT, voice-based devices, and home/life automation in the new connected world. Then cloud, we have a lot more in cloud. Cloud's been the biggest name on the books for 5 or so years. But CI/CD is really making a strong comeback in 2022 and 2023. As Magnus and I were talking about earlier, there's new tools coming out every day to help with that. And now that the cloud is more prevalent, multi-cloud, having multi-cloud instances in your environment is becoming super popular and critical now that we've all seen that the likes of AWS, Azure, Google Cloud Platform, they're not up 24/7. They don't have 4 nines or 5 9 abilities. So as we want our apps to be more and more reliable, having our apps in Azure as well as AWS or others to provide that redundancy, very expensive redundancy, but for apps that are important, it makes sense. So more and more organizations are moving towards that. And to also help with the simplicity of getting your desktops and your applications up, containers are starting to become really more popular and easier to use now. Looks like we got some guests coming in. Hello, welcome. Keep in mind, if you sit there, you're going to be on camera.
Yeah.
You don't have to, I'm just telling you, you're going to be right on the camera.
Yeah, it's okay. Maybe not there. Maybe not there. Yeah. You guys can sit with me. Maybe shift, right? Yeah.
Let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
So in the general world, low code, blockchain, AR, VR, and security are becoming really big. What I mean by low code is basically things like Azure Power Apps, where there's not a lot of code, but you're basically connecting and gluing applications together. And blockchain is becoming more and more popular as a nice automation trail for stuff. Ooh, why don't you just get a whiteboard with some chalk and just reach it? Augmented reality and virtual reality are also up and coming. You know, Meta has their Oculus, Google has their glasses. More and more people are looking for this immersive experience. These are trends to start looking into. And then security on top of, we live in a very connected world, and cybersecurity is hugely important as people tend to leave their systems open. So we're going to see more and more in InfoSec going forward. Some of the software trends that are coming up in 2023, Angular is still a huge push forward. If you talk between some people, Vue is the next in line, or they kind of fight over first place, with React being a third. And rumor has it that 90% of the React development in Facebook is shifted over to Vue. That they got tired of using React, and now they're starting to move everything towards Vue, which is funny because if you don't know, React was actually created by Facebook and used greatly on Facebook and everything else. Vue was created by the original author of React, and he realized that he made some mistakes and started rewriting it. So Angular and Vue are the more up and coming ones, with React kind of sort of fading away. The mobile apps, we have a lot of different platforms now for mobile apps. We have progressive web apps, which is becoming bigger. Progressive web apps are those apps that you can pull down and work on your machine, so they look like they're native to your device, but really they're just web-based browsers. Maui is also starting to come out now that Microsoft is just about ready to release it. It'll probably come out in November with the .NET 7. Maui is, if you're a C# developer, you'll be able to build .NET apps that run on any platform like iOS, Windows, etc. React Native, Ionic, and the Uno platform are mixed other applications use it. React Native and Ionic are, if you're JavaScript based or TypeScript based, you can create applications that work across multiple platforms. Just rip it off already. Multiple platforms like iOS, Android, Windows, etc. So if you're familiar with the JavaScript infrastructure, those are the ones to go with. If you are familiar with C# and XAML, Uno platform is now up and coming platform to allow for mobile development on iOS, Android, any devices. Development, there's two big trends in software development now. The Kotlin language is becoming really popular. If you don't know, Kotlin is used as an alternative for mobile development. They basically wrote a new language that sits on top of mobile devices to kind of replace Java. It's been up and coming for a while. The install base has it having more installs in mobile than Java does now. The other language that's still up and coming and taking the world over by storm is TypeScript, which gives you typed JavaScript, which makes it easier and provides compilation of your JavaScript. Basically, they take it and they do builds behind it and generates your JavaScript behind you, but also gives you the runtime, IntelliSense, and compiling abilities, so you don't make those simple mistakes like setting a string equal to an integer and things like that. And then DevSecOps is the last development trend coming up. For those of you who don't know what DevSecOps is, it's kind of the DevOps integrated with security, so making sure we have clean deployments going forward that are secure and being used elsewhere, as opposed to right-click publish. You have a clear CI/CD pipeline that's secure. Oh, and then I forgot about open source. More and more organizations are open sourcing their products as well as using open source. So in development trends, it makes sense for us to participate, to be good, quote unquote, citizens in the open source world, of being able to contribute as well as use and support them. But now I want to talk a couple minutes about you. No, not you, like you right there. We talked a little bit about this in our last session tonight, but a couple of things to make yourself more employable from a person, but also how to be a better person overall. Some of the things I like to see when I'm interviewing people or just talking to people in general. A lot of developers that I see like to be the only expert in a given application or a given product. They don't like to share the knowledge because they think that if I am the only one that knows this, no one can fire me. I have a story of a friend of mine ran a department at Citibank in the US. He had this one software developer that told them he wanted a $200,000 American raise in order to support the app, because he was the only developer that knew this app. And he gave them 2 weeks to decide to give him the raise or he was going to quit. So my friend at the time said, oh, we'll think about it and let you know. He went to their offshore team and said, hey, I need you to look at this app. They rebuilt the app in 2 weeks with a team of 5 people and told them, you're fired. So never think that you are irreplaceable just because you're the only person to know it. It might be an inconvenience for some, but it's in the long run, it will end up hurting you. Do you have the spirit? We have a saying at work called figure it out. Do you have a saying, or do you have that spirit that I can figure it out? Yes, you don't know anything. I've been married for 26 years. My wife always tells me I know nothing, so I've gotten used to that of not knowing anything. But I also will figure it out. Technology is constantly changing. Every day there's a new version of something, whether it's Visual Studio or JetBrains Writer or the latest NuGet package. We're constantly in the learning state. So if you're the type of person that will figure it out, always open to new tools, that makes it a lot easier for others to want to and work with you. Also, be a team player. Don't be that solo person that sits off in the corner and just wants to be by himself. A lot of people, humans by nature, want to be with other people, whether it be at work or at home. So we always look for people on my team that are a team player. But that also means avoid being a yes person, which I know is very challenging in this culture, mainly in the Indian culture. We say yes a lot. A lot of times we don't want a person that says yes to everything. We want people, at least in my organization, to challenge and say, yes, but, or have you thought about this? And not just be order takers, but we look for people that are going to provide value. You don't want people that are just going to sit there at machines. And that's what I really mean by being a team player. We're one group of engineers helping to build something. Be honest. One of the biggest problems I have when I get resumes or stuff is I get a resume or CV with 17 skill sets on there. Go through an interview, person hasn't used 16 of them. He or she may have heard of them and wrote them down on the resume to use it. I'd much rather have people be honest and say, I don't know that. Or even if I ask you a question, let's say you've done C# forever and I ask you what a delegate is, I would rather a person say, I don't know, than sit there and spend 15 minutes trying to lie and talk about what it is. That's my second point, especially on resumes. So always be honest with yourself. Networking, you ladies and gents are doing the best thing when it comes to community right now, and that's networking. Establishing, there's lots of room on the other side too. attending events like this, talking with the speakers, talking with the other community. The reason why I'm here today is not because I wanted to fly halfway around the world, but because I've come to events like this and I've talked to people like Magnus and Alan and Simon over the years. I haven't had to interview for a job in over 15, 16 years. It's all been through network events like this. Someone walks up and says, "Hey Joe, I'm looking to do this, would you be interested in it?" So coming to events like this is really helpful for your career and also just life in general to meet other people. 10 user groups. I think C# does a lot of meetups in multiple cities around India, but wherever you are, there's usually something. And if there isn't, start one. And that's how I got started. I moved to a new city in the US and I didn't know anyone, so I ended up starting a user group in my area to get other like-minded people together and chat. Also the after parties. Magnus and I were talking last 2 nights ago about the after parties. There's this event that happens in Seattle in the US called the MVP Summit. Well, the MVPs go together and we get information on like up and coming products in Microsoft, but that's all fine and dandy, but most of the actual true events happen afterwards where everyone's talking over a beer or wine, and those are where you make all the real connections, because when you're sitting in a room like this, it's hard to talk because you're listening to one boring old guy talk for 30 minutes and you can't communicate with each other. But having those connections at lunch or having them at the after parties, that's where a lot of those bonds are made. Then be active on social media. I mean, nowadays you have TikTok, Instagram, for old folks like me, Twitter and Facebook. There's lots of ways for us to stay connected. But it's important to be connected, but don't stalk other people. And we get some cases, what are you smiling at, Simon?
My name, everyone was smiling.
I saw that smile. There are some cases where, people just get, overly aggressive. Be respectful of people. We're all here to try to help each other out, try to make the world a better place. Try not to take advantage of people and try not to hound people. Like I've come to this event, I think this is my 5th or 6th year, and every time I come, there's always one person that is sending me emails every day, twice a day, or multiple IMs. I'll help as much as possible, but the more you go and yes, the less likely I'm going to do it. And that goes for most of us. We all want to help. Just be cognizant that people are doing it in their own time. The most important thing to remember is you be you. Try not to be a drone and just do what you expect out of people. Be who you are. That's what makes us better as a person. It goes back to that team. You want a team of people together, not a group of individuals and not a robot. Another thing to remember is you control your path and destiny in life. It's not your manager or your boss or your superior. He or she is not going to tell you what you need to get better in a lot of places. It's up to you to do things like coming to events like this, the networking, the learning, the education by yourself. Don't rely on others to do it for you. That being said, I'll open up the floor or chat for any questions, comments, thoughts. If not, you can all stare at this and take pictures of this and make room for the next presenter. Thank you for 15 minutes.
All right.
There's power here too.
I do. I need some minutes.
Thank you. Hey, good morning, friends. Thanks for joining. So please fasten your seatbelt. You already boarded an express train. So that's my first and favorite slide. You're on your own now. I'm not responsible. So what are we going to do? This is your first journey of microservice, .NET 6 microservice from Kestrel, Docker to AKS in 90 minutes. And my name is Vishwanath Swami. Everyone calls me Swami. You can call me Swami. I am still a learner, so I apologize if I do any mistake. So what are we going to do in this 90 minutes? So we'll see about API, microservice .NET 6, and we'll speak about dependency injection using app settings versus secrets, secret or JSON, and layered architecture. So we'll speak about DTO, automapper, strongly typed configuration, repository pattern, and Serilog. And we'll be executing, I'll show this, that's Serilog. So we'll be executing, how many ways you can execute this microservice on your local machine. So you can do it through IIS Express, and through Kestrel, and through Docker, and through Docker Compose. And then we'll use Terraform to deploy S3 bucket and a static website. So why? Because learning one Terraform language, it's a cloud agnostic. So you can work in any cloud. So that's the motivation of choosing that. Then we will see a 30,000 feet view about what this pull request or the entire process of CI/CD. We'll go through that, and importance of having this unit test, static code analysis, software composition analysis. People lose their fortune without going through this software composition analysis. Like you use a library which is open source, and you don't know, and you sell the product, that guy will chase you to death. So you need to make your product open source. Now you lose your fortune for that. So you need to have that, and as well as you use a lot of libraries. You should know that what are the security holes in the library which you are using. So without knowing, you use it, and someone capitalized those vulnerabilities, and again you're gone. So software composition analysis is pretty much needed. Static analysis is pretty much needed. Like you want to have sleepless nights, don't write any unit testing. And you want to have at least 6 hours sleep, please write unit tests. And how do you deploy infrastructure using GitHub Actions? And how do you Dockerize, create an image of your API and push it to the Docker Hub? And how do you take this Docker image and deploy it into the AKS through the GitHub Actions and do a CRUD? Section 12, 13, I think it will not be possible, but we'll see. Whatever the time is there, we will go and take it. So let's speak real quick on this one. We'll go step by step. So first, let's start with this product microservice. Let me switch to, this is my virtual machine, Azure virtual machine, which I connected to Bastion. So this, I need to give the URLs. I will give it to Steven. This is my GitHub profile. So everything is starting with eShop icon. That's it's starting. We just started it. So right now we are discussing about this products microservice. Still there are 15 to 20 microservices, and whatever I'm talking right now is the summary of this 10 sessions. So take this, you have this .md files as well as this videos, step by step. So whatever I'm doing right now is 12 hours content I'm squeezing in 50 minutes.
40 now.
Okay. So please go to this URL and go to step by step, but eventually you guys can follow us on that. So it's a 2.5 years investment if you want to follow to build this entire e-commerce solution step by step. No pre-created, we'll create step by step. Okay, that being said, let's come back to this. So this is the products API which is there. And the first point I want to talk about the dependency injection. Before that, I will speak about the app settings and the secrets.json. So we have this app settings all the time. So what we generally do is we'll add this app settings.json as part of the Git ignore. That means whatever the information which you have in will not be checked into the repository. Imagine a scenario where you don't do that and there is a bug on Friday. You have connected to the stage or prod and your friend called for a movie or something. You verified this bug, you check in the code and you go home. Monday, that is no more secret. The entire office will know the database credentials. So just to avoid that, we put it. But how do others know? Just create example.app settings or something like that, where you tell that what are the things which are needed for that. That's one important thing. And the second thing is, if you always use the secrets.json, because if you see this app settings.json, when you go to the containing folder is within the source control repository. That means this anything which is here will get checked into the source code repository. But how do you do the secrets.json is rightmost click on this and manage user secrets, or if it doesn't, then you click on add user secrets. So when you double click the CS clause, you will see that this is the user secrets. So if I come in here, it will be here. We can directly go to that one. So right mouse click on this and manage user secrets. The secrets file will come in here. So I will go and open the containing folder. So see this? This belongs to a location which doesn't fit inside the source code. So it is safe. Whatever the secrets you want to write it here, but don't use it.
You open that back up so I can take a picture.
Which one?
Your secrets.
Oh yeah, you can. Then I need to rename secrets into something.
Yeah, just getting it got it right anyway.
Okay. Okay, so that's it. Now let's see this dependency injection. I'll give you a very small example about this dependency. This is my way of explaining this one. You have your bank account. You deposit some money and you take your ATM card and you swipe it. You'll get the money. You don't deposit it, you swipe your card in the ATM, you get transaction decline. That is what is dependency injection. So that means there is a container which holds all the dependencies. That means you need to invest something and then you will come and you will withdraw that. First, let's see that. It will take 5 to 6 minutes. Let's understand this dependency injection. So what happens is, how does this dependency injection will get created? So here, if you see this, the controller, the products controller. Let's see this one, the path. So the products controller has got dependency on iProduct repository. So let's go to that repository. So when system tries to create this one products controller, it finds that it has got a dependency on iProduct repository. Then it goes and tries to create iProduct repository. Then it finds that it has got a iProduct context. So it has got a dependency on this one. So then what it does is it goes into this products context. Again, when it tries to create this one, it has got a parameterized constructor, but it doesn't have any dependency. That means in the chain of these dependencies, the last man standing who doesn't have any dependency, that guy will be created first. Then that guy will be injected in the next layer. That guy will be injected in the next layer. That guy will be injected in the next layer. Let's see that in action. So I'll put a debugger here in this one, and I'll put a debugger here in this one. And I'll put a debugger in here this one. So let's execute it first. So this is very, very important. So first I will show you how does the dependencies gets created and how does that gets injected. First let's learn that. Then we will think about that money deposit box where you can withdraw the money. Okay? So first let it execute. Okay, so if I click this one and let me try this. When I click on execute, you see that who's getting created. The first thing it gets created is the product context, because the product context has got a parameterized constructor, but it doesn't have any dependencies which are getting injected. So this guy will first get constructed, and then this guy will get injected in the product repository. You see this at this point of time, the product context is none. But here if you see that inside this parameterized constructor, you see that it got constructed there and it is getting injected here. Now, when you come back here, the product context is fully constructed. Now, the next guy standing is this one. If you see the repository is here, but if you go to the variable which we have declared, the private read only, that is none. Now this gets created. Now let's see, if you see this repository, you expand it, so it has got the product context. Like if you have the layered architecture, different layered architecture, so what happens is you have the controller layer, then you have the business logic layer, then you have the repository layer, then you have a data layer, multiple layers, whatever the layers we call it. So what happens is each of these dependencies, when it gets constructed, when you open it, you will see that, like we have seen it there. We have seen the repository, then expand that repository, it goes to the context. Like this, it gets created. So that's very, very important to understand that how these dependencies are getting created and getting injected. That's one point. And the second point is the layered architecture. What if I create all these files inside the same products API with separate folders? So what happens is, if there is a change either in code is like we are taking the configuration, DTOs or entities, whatever we are taking, whether for the interface or anything in the infrastructure, repository or the data layer. For anything I need to come and change one single project. And the other thing is, suppose if we have different layers, like created the infrastructure or repository or the data layer or the code, what happens is this guy can write one layer, data layer, and he can back that data layer with its unit test. And we agree on a contract and he'll give that, he'll say that yes, my data project works. So it is easy, we can work on this entire solution parallelly, so the faster to the development, and write 80% plus coverage for the unit test, so you're sure that your library works. So that's another thing. So now this is very, very important to understand what is the container. We were speaking about dependencies. Now we will see the container. Very carefully observe this one. Before even we start a single line, I'll put a debugger over here. Okay. Now let's execute this one. Till now we saw that how the dependencies are getting created, how it is getting injected. Now who is the guy who holds all these dependencies? When I'm asking, give me the repository layer. So someone is giving me, I don't know who is that someone. It's like ATM. I'm swiping my card and getting money from the ATM. Now let's see that who is the guy who holds that. Okay, inside the builder, if you come to this services, in this services collection, if you go and expand the service collection, there are 81 by default these dependencies are there. So we have seen that the repositories and the context are getting injected. Those are we injected them. But in the previous files, when you were looking at it, there were loggers. Where is this logger coming from? Like iLogger. You're seeing this. Who holds this? Now, this is the answer for it. Okay? So now if I come in here and go to the quick watch, if I come in here and do a quick watch on this one and go to this services, okay, inside the services, when I go to the services, there are 81. And if you expand the result view, see that iLogger. Now these, for lack of better word, I'm calling it as built-in dependencies. So something framework dependencies. Framework itself is giving us all these dependencies. iOptions factory, logger factory, configuration, and iConfiguration. If you remember that, all the places what we do is we use iConfiguration, and we'll read it from app settings in every place, all over the world. That's not a good practice. I'll show you another one. I mean, I think that it's not good practice. Why? We will speak about it in few minutes from now. Now see that there are 81 dependencies. Now we are adding Serilog. Okay? We are adding Serilog. And then here we are adding MongoDB settings. And now if you come and do the quick watch on this one, do a quick watch. So you see it is 82. We have added one dependencies. Okay? So I'm adding IMapper like this. These are our dependencies. I want to show you before adding controller how the dependencies will get exploded. So if I come in here and do a quick watch, you see there are 86. All few things we have added. The movement from 86, see how this gets jumped to a huge number. We go and do a quick watch. Now see this container from 86 it went to 177. So when you add controller, tons and tons of dependencies are getting added. So this is the guy who holds this entire dependency. See this iProduct repository, iContext, these are our dependencies. For lack of better word, I'm calling it as application dependencies. And other dependencies, by default, it comes before even we write a single line, that I'm calling it as framework dependencies. Are by default, it is injecting all those dependencies. And this one is, the more you add it, it's like pizza. You want to add pineapple topping, you add it. And you want to add extra cheese, you add it. Like this, what dependencies you want, you add it here. This is the container. Now you understood. So the service container holds all the dependencies and all the places wherever you want it, you inject it. So we have covered what is this and dependency injection, app settings, secrets.json, layered architecture. Okay, now data transfer object. So the entities, when we create this entities in the data, so what happens is there might be an instance where you store some of the secrets or just blindly I'm telling you, like created date, created by, modified date, modified by. This doesn't need to, the user doesn't need to know that when this product was created, who modified it. So the entity maps one-on-one with the data store. Maybe it's a SQL Server or MongoDB. Entity maps one-on-one. And the data transfer object, that's what it goes to the app, the client application. Now you decide what you want to send it to. Okay? So whether you want to send it in SSN like that, or you encrypt it, or send first masked SSN, what do you want to do it? But entity can hold the entire thing. But what you want to send it to the user, that you decide. So transfer the information from entities to DTO and send the data transfer. And another thing is the ID. ID is auto-generated. It has to be generated through the system. You don't ask user to send the ID, right? So now the data transfer object doesn't need to have this ID. It doesn't need to have the created by so and so whatever it is, like full name. Let it give the first name and last name. We'll compute the full name. Or let it give the date of birth. We'll calculate the age. So some of the things, whatever we need base minimum, we'll ask that, send it to the DTO. Let's compute the rest. And in the reverse order, when we are sending it, we'll get it from the data, and we decide what we have to send it to him, then convert it back to the DTO. Now, who does this transfer? Left to right, right to left. We don't need to do that. There's a lot of auto mappers out there. Now, if you come and see this one here, auto mapping. So with this one single line, you create the map. Now from DTO, products DTO to entity, and entity to DTO. So reverse map. And some of the things which doesn't come out of the box in auto mapper, but still they have given an extension point where you can write that, okay, take this from this and transform like this. You have to write it instead. And for that one also, we don't need to take extra pain. All we need to have an intelligence to go and Google. We'll get that code, copy, paste, and modify. Okay. I forgot writing code login. Now I do this copy, paste from Google and modify it. That's what I'm doing off the record. Okay. Now, what is this strongly typed configuration? This point I want to highlight this. I mean, this is my personal opinion. Joe or Magnus or Alan, you guys can pitch in at this moment. Why I am more inclined towards the strongly typed configuration instead of using I configuration at different places. This is my personal opinion, but I just wanted others to pitch in, because when we come and see this piece, I can go to this builder. Okay. You see this, the configuration. In this configuration, you see it's getting the configuration from 7 different sources. It has got the memory configuration, the changed, and then it reads app settings, it reads app setting development, app setting QA, app setting test, app setting stage, app setting prod, and it reads secrets.json and any environment variables. So for me, it feels like it's a little heavy. I have an I configuration object which I can pass it to the business logic layer or repository layer. Wherever I need it, I can inject this I configuration there and retrieve whatever I want. But why do I need to take the extra pain? Why do I need all these sources? So instead, I learned it from one of the author to create a strongly typed configuration. If you see that, all I need is this Mongo settings. I need this configuration settings, database name, and collection name. Now, if you see that in the program.cs, what we are doing is from the app settings or secrets.json, wherever it is, we are reading that one piece of information and putting it into this layer, service collection. We are reading that one section, and those 3 properties, it has become a class, and that class we are loading it into the service container as a singleton. Now, wherever throughout our solution, wherever we need it, I can just pass this MongoDB settings class. I don't need to worry about go read the I configuration time and again, because now I have this, and that's a singleton instance. So I thought that this is much better. Suppose you're dealing with Redis cache and you're dealing with MongoDB. Apart from hundreds of configuration in your app settings or secrets.json, you have these 2 pieces. So load these 2 pieces in a strongly type, and you don't need to deal with all these magic strings. Now you want the collection name, you say that MongoDB settings start collection name. It's a strongly type, and you read it from the app settings, store it in this one. So that's my personal choice, I might be wrong. So the repository pattern and Serilog, which I will skip in the interest of time, let's see a lot of actions. Now I have this code. How many ways we can execute it? Okay. Before that, I will come back to this one because at least we need to see the product's microservice getting executed. Okay. So let me come and please collect these repository, these URLs. Okay. Now I will show resource groups. In the resource group, there is no resource group got rg_issue. You see that? There is no resource group. Okay. What I will do is I will come into this this GitHub action workflow. I just click on run workflow. So what this guy is doing, this guy is going and creating a new resource group, and it will deploy the Azure Kubernetes service, the cluster, Azure AKS cluster is getting deployed. Because let's do a parallel thing. So I'll come back to this one. In the meanwhile, let's execute, see how many ways we can execute. The first way we can execute is through IIS Express. Okay? When I execute the microservice locally through IIS Express, you'll see a small icon over here. You can right mouse click on that. You see this, it shows on what URLs it is working, and you can see all the applications. So you can get the products, and the products is coming through the container. So if I open this Docker desktop, gone are those days where you need to provision the database, big database. Now everything is coming in containers. See this, right now the container what we are using, the MongoDB, it is coming from this one container. Here, shop. Okay, this is the container. We'll get deep into the weeds a few minutes from now. And the second way we can execute this is through Kestrel. So when I execute it, I'll show you a few other tips 2 minutes down the line. When we execute this through the Kestrel, you see an extra window. That's how you will recognize that it's being executed, and it's writing these seri logs. So because I just want to show some action, I skipped the repository pattern and the seri logs. So we'll focus on the key things. It's coming. So that's the second way to execute it, through Kestrel. And the third way to execute it is through Docker. So where are these things coming from? Okay. So when you go to the API project and then the properties, launch settings, if you double click that, you see the profiles. So Docker, IIS Express, and products API. So this is where all these profiles, you will see that. And all the things like what should be the default URL? The launch URL is Swagger. So that's how it is coming to Swagger. If I want, I can route it directly to the products API. And we are specifying like what should be the URLs here. So when it is IIS Express, it's choosing the random port, but here we are specifying the ports should be this port. Okay, and here in the Docker also we are specifying how it should run. And previously, when I started working in Docker back in 2014, this is my Docker repository. First container which I created was 8 years ago. At that time, to create a Docker, we need to have 2 different virtual machines, Linux virtual machine. In one, we have to create the Docker, and another one is client, and you need to have a communication between that. But it was a hell of a lot of pain at that time. Even 2 years down the line, it was like that, almost like that, not that. But now, the tools, those people are making us lazy to the core. They're making lazy to the core. You don't need to go anywhere. I'll show you now. See this. We have a Docker. We have Docker here at Docker desktop, and I can go to terminal, any terminal, and I can do Docker command or whatever it is. I can do Docker PS. You'll see all these things. These are the commands which we have to execute to know about it. I'll show you. It made me crazy when I saw that this much of tooling has improved like anything, which is making us lazy to the core. Okay? Because 8 years ago, how I created 2 virtual machines to have one Docker setup. Now see this, right in Visual Studio 2022, you're seeing the containers. I'll show you how much pain you need to take before this. Now you will enjoy the benefits of this tooling. We should thank all the architects and the entire team who's behind this, making us lazy. Okay, jokes apart. See this, you're getting the ports and all the volumes, and you see the files. So that app is a folder. When you have this, see, you have your controllers, you have your app settings, everything is here. You don't need to go and type this, all the commands, see, including the logs. Now I come in here, I go and do a try, execute this, come back to Visual Studio, see that clearly it's telling that, okay, it came to context and completed. Okay. Okay, this is very good point. We came here. Okay, it will fail. I'll tell you why it is failing. Okay, it will fail. Let it fail. Before that, we will see some other things. So it will have this environment variables. How do you inject that environment variables? I told you that it will fail. We will fix it in a minute. That's a very good point. This will be the motivation for why we choose the Docker Compose. Okay, so we are on the right track. So we have the labels, we have the ports where it is mapping, and we have volumes, and we have the details. When you go to this details, here, when you go to the details, you see a lot of things like what all the things which is mapping and mount and everything. You have tons and tons of information. The same thing you can do inspect. If I do an inspect command, I'll get the same things. I don't need to take that much pain. This guy is giving me everything. Okay, so here you can see this. What is the 0.0 from anyone can hit us. So 443. This is on HTTPS port, and this is a HTTP port. It is giving all these things. Now what is happening is this is 172.17.0.3. This is the IP address of this products API. Now let's come to this shop Mongo, and let's come to the shop Mongo, and let's go to the bottom of that and see that what is the IP address of that instance. So the IP address is 172.17.0.2. Now go back to it was .2. Now go back to the launch setting. You see that 172.17.3. When I executed this 1 month ago, at that time the IP address of the Mongo container was 3. Now it is 2. How did you know that? In the containers we saw that. When we go to the containers, we go to the shop Mongo, we saw that the IP address is .3 here. Sorry, .2. Yeah, IP address is 172.17.2. Now if I execute and click on get, it will get it. Because now what is happening is MongoDB is one container and products API is one container. How does this products API knows that MongoDB exists? It has to know either through the networking, the common networking, where to use the network you have to identify, or we have to identify through the IP address. There are other methods also, but this is what I felt was very easy to. Now see that? We got it. So when you face this kind of problem, you need to go. Now see, I'll show you another thing. We can come here, choose it. See the power of this tooling. You want to check the logs, you come and see this. You want to do an inspect, click on that. This guy is giving all these things. And this is the volumes. So what is happening is, the volumes are very, very important. Means, when you don't use the volumes, today you created a container, you have created 100 records. Now when you dismantle this container, you will lose the data also. It doesn't make sense to lose it if you have the data store. So you need to have a persistence volume. So all the time, this volumes should exist. So anytime you lose it, you need to get the data. That means for some reason, it is getting crashed or you deleted mistakenly, wantedly or unknowingly, whatever the reason, you deleted it. But you need to have this volume very, very persistent. Now, if you see that where the volumes are there, I always forget. So I copy it here. So let's see that. Go. Here are the volumes. You can see that the MongoDB store, that is a persistent store. Now, if I delete the MongoDB container, but still I have the data. Tomorrow I'm recreating it. All I need to do is mount it back to the same path where I just created. So this is a persistent volume. That's very, very important. Now, the motivation for this one, how many times when I'm executing a Docker container and an API, Docker Mongo container is already there. And every time I execute API, tomorrow I execute it, the Mongo container might get, I stop today. If I start after half an hour or 1 hour, it might get a separate IP address. Now, how many times I will go and change this properties doesn't make sense. So one more reason, imagine a scenario where I go and stop this MongoDB. The MongoDB is not there. I'm stopping this MongoDB. Now I'll start this API. Whether it is executing it from the Kestrel, IIS or Docker doesn't make any difference, but the scenario is I stop the data store container, now I'm executing the API. Now API I hit try and execute, it will not find it. So for multiple reasons, it goes and tries and it don't find and it blows it off. So does it make sense to start the API if there is no database? How does this API knows that the database is up or not? So for these kind of reasons and more, I'm just giving 1 or 2 reasons. It makes sense to marry this MongoDB container and products API. So that's where the motivation comes to have the Docker Compose. The Docker Compose, I'll show you real quick the Docker Compose. Now here in this Docker Compose, we are marrying this MongoDB as well as the products API. So if you come to this override, so what we are telling is, you're telling that, hey, I have a products API, the container name should be products.api, and I'm passing some of the environment variables, but what I'm telling is depends on. I'm telling you make this products API up only if you have the MongoDB up. Makes sense? So until the MongoDB comes up and running, the Docker Compose will ensure that it's not starting. And a lot of other reasons are there. So let's see that real quick. In the meanwhile, let's switch back here. Okay, so it did scan, gated build, CI build. I'll speak about this. I will approve the deployment. I will give introduction to that so you guys can follow. And anyone wants to learn this microservices from starting, there will be around 20 microservices minimum. It's 2 years investment. Okay, we started in March. So again, it will go 2 years. I'll give an introduction. I don't want to derail this session. So it's getting, the infrastructure is getting deployed. Let's come back. I'm switching the gears. I'm sorry for that. I have shown the slide that you're boarded a fastest train. You need to fasten your seatbelt. So now see this. Now what happens is when I execute it through the Docker Compose. Now that means we are tying up these two. I mean all the services whichever are dependent, it can be bundled in the Docker Compose. You bundle it, you execute it. Now that guy will take care of executing it. Now see that. How do you recognize that it's bundled. So you can see that icon here, the Docker icon. So this one, the Docker compose. So just check that anywhere you see this icon, that icon shows that. Now you need to check that whether this is a products API. There you go. This is a products API. Now the Docker compose has bundled both the MongoDB as well as the products API. So now it is taking care. Now you don't need to worry whether MongoDB is up or not, or whether the products API is. See that seamlessly it works. So that's one of the good motivation. Steven is seeing at me. I didn't see Steven.
You're charming, no doubt.
So see this. Now one tip. Here, when you use a Terraform, you need to understand the symbols. The green color symbol means it is adding a resource. So an amber color tilde symbol, that means it is modifying a resource. And a red color minus or a hyphen symbol means it is nuking that resource. This red color is delete, amber tilde is for modification, plus green is for addition. Let it go and deploy. So what are the topics which we have covered? We did 4 and 5. I think I will skip. This one I'll explain. This is very, very important. So you have to understand, you will have a main branch. You should not allow anyone to go and touch the main branch. So each one of you has to create a feature branch. So if you go and check any of the way we work is that we go and create branches with our name. Okay, like Swami / 6th October. What is that one? So you guys also have to have a common convention. Your architect or a tech lead will guide it. So you need to have a feature branch, and once you code it right, you validate it first, you test it, and then you raise a pull request. Step 2. Once you raise the pull request, what you have to do is you have to execute a gated build. What is this gated build? Gated build will go and check that your code is in a compilable state, you have a proper unit testing, and you need to run the static code analysis. That means we don't want the junk to come into our main repository. So static code analysis, at least it gives us a warning saying that, hey, you're making your life harder. You'll have a sleepless nights 2 weeks down the line. So it's just FYI. So we need to fix it. So once the gated build is done, there will be approvals, code review. So code review is, I don't know, throughout my 2 decades of my career, I faced it. Code review is a very important tool where people will come and assist you to make the life better. But the flip side is code review is a tool which will be used to trouble the associate to the code. The guy who knows the unnecessarily will write the same comment 10 times. Okay? So the only way to trouble you is this one. So the real intention of code review is, why does a tech lead and architect do the code review again and again? Doesn't make sense, isn't it? You do a code review once and write the guidance. When you want to create a global variable, it should start with underscore. Put it and ask your team member to go and refer that. You do your code review, then come to me. Because it doesn't make sense. Every day I go and check, write the same comment, hey, underscore is missing, underscore is missing, underscore is missing. You have to evolve, isn't it? Every code review you do, you find, unearth something new, which is not there in the checklist, you add it, isn't it? And sometimes what you can do is, okay, is a new member who joined it, he did some mistake, you say that, I'm approving with some suggestions, but you go and fix it. So let's go faster to the market. So gated build ensures that code in a compilable state, and you have 80% code coverage, static code analysis. And then code review, the code gets merged to the master. Now then it CI build gets kicked in and it creates an artifact. And then the release pipeline will kick in and it goes and deploys. So that's the one. And unit test, there are build breakers. If you don't, some of the teams are very strict. If they don't have 80% code coverage, when you raise the pull request, it will break the build. It doesn't go through. once the build fails, no one will review your code. Okay? Now, static code analysis, I told there are tons and tons of static code analysis. Static code analysis will protect only till some phases. Now, what happens is once you deploy this, you need to run the web vulnerability scans because maybe I misconfigured my IIS, I'm allowing directory browsing. That's a security threat. So, static code analysis will not get all those things. So, static code analysis, at least it check that are there any vulnerabilities you're opening up. So, at least it helps you there. But you need to, after deployment also, you need to check for these vulnerabilities. And JFrog is one of the other tool which I use it. It checks the vulnerabilities in the containers, Docker containers. Software composition analysis tool. This is very, very important because it goes and executes the chain. How many libraries you are using? Are there any threats? Do you need to pump it up? It checks for that. And then another important thing is the licensing. Now, if you use a licensing which says that if you use my library, you have to open source your project. You didn't read it and you sell it, now I can sue you. There are people who lost their fortune. Entire company, they lost it because they didn't follow these things. So software composition analysis tool is very, very important. Now this is what we saw that. I think the infrastructure has been deployed. Let's come back here and go to the resource group. You see that RG eShop, this is there. Let me refresh. So then there will be two things. This one and the node resource group. When you're dealing with Azure Kubernetes, you will have one resource group where it creates cluster. Let's go and see the cluster. And there is a node resource group. Okay? So inside this node resource group, you will have a public IP. So this public IP is having the rule for outbound. How do you know that? You come to the load balancer. If you get into this load balancer, you see there's a front-end IP configuration. That's this one. It is pointing. This is the node, and the outbound rule is this one, AKS. So something which the clusters, the pods want to communicate, that's an outbound rule. Okay? So this here you can see that it has got virtual machine scale set, and it has got a virtual network, and it has got set of managed identities and the load balancer. And here is our cluster. We'll see that cluster in 5 minutes. We'll deploy. This is the last song of a movie or last fight of a movie. Okay? I'm a big movie buff. I watch movies in 8 languages, so I speak 6.
What about the rest too?
Rest we'll switch on the subtitles and watch. So again, this one. Okay, the gated build. We will see that here in this Terraform. We need to do scan also. Okay, like static code analysis. In Terraform also we need to do the scan, and we categorize as gated, CI, and deploy. But here it makes more sense. We'll speak about that. Let me come back here. Let's go to the previous one. So in the previous one, if you see that what is happening in the gated build. In the gated build, what we are doing, we are building it, we are testing it, we are seeing the code coverage. So what is the code coverage? It is very low, but this is what we are doing. That means we are ensuring that the code is in a compilable state. It has got set of unit test cases, and what is the code coverage. Now when it comes to, and it is doing nothing. Now when it comes to the CI build, in the CI build you see this, we do the same build, test, code coverage, and then we do publish. Okay, .NET publish, and then we are uploading the artifact. That means you're packaging the artifact and you're keeping it ready. Anyone who wants to go and deploy, they can take this and deploy this package. Now, in this step, what we are doing is we are going and taking this, rebuilding this binaries and pushing it to the Docker Hub image. Okay, so see that when we come to my Docker Hub, the last build which we pushed was 13 hours ago. Now we kicked in another build, and here we deploy. So let's see that it will get built in 2 minutes. This is the final one. We can, okay, the gated build, it's through. Technically, after gated build, we should stop for the review, but we passed it. But at the deployment step, we are stopping it. And another important thing is, we definitely need to have the Postman Collection. Postman Collection is very, very important. You see that, I will update it afterwards. No risk.
Update it now.
God, I don't need enemies. I have very good friends. So you see this one, when I want to show you one thing. I have one set of URLs to test it, but when you come and expand this one set of URLs, I'm able to test in 8 different environments. I'm able to test it in Azure Container Instance, Azure Kubernetes Service, Azure App Service, Docker Local, Docker Compose Local, IIS Express, local K8s, local Kestrel. Now see this, one set of URLs, 8 environments. You're getting the power of having the Postman Collection. 8 environments, just one set. Nothing I need to change. That's it. Just a URL. Now we are testing it not against the local Kestrel, we are testing it against the AKS. So we need to select the proper this one, and we will change it. Just a minute, it will deploy, then we will see the power of that. Okay, so you did this. Now you will come and review the deployment. Johnny and Robbie, those are my partners. We do this series. I'll speak about that if Steven permits.
They didn't sponsor our event. Never mind.
Okay, so now we are pushing. Now what this step is doing is, this step is going and bringing in the Docker image. Now you see that previously when we tested it, it was 13 hours ago. Now when we deploy that, see that a minute ago. So everything is through automation. Nothing else. Everything is through automation. You just click a button, it's pushing to the Docker hub. Then you click a button, grab it from the Docker hub, deploy it to the Kubernetes cluster.
I mean, I love Postman a lot, right? But when I see anyone using VS Code, right, they also like to use Thunder Client. Have you ever tried it? Thunder Client is one of the plugins or extensions that you get. It's called VS Code for testing APIs and
Right.
environments and all.
So different tools, but some of the things is like a personal choice. And in this Postman, one of the things I like is they give the facility to test also.
Do they have dark mode? Yeah.
What is that?
Do they have dark mode?
Yes.
But they do. They also have dark mode. Definitely.
Green black.
they do.
It's dark nowadays. Funny feature.
Yeah.
So let's see this deployment, and we will do one testing, but I will give some other tips from the load balancer perspective. Let's see what is that this guy is doing. Deploy API to products. Now we can come, okay, we have a couple of minutes. In the meanwhile, we will come here. So here we will see the namespace. And you see that these are the namespaces, and you see workloads over here. So this is the deployment. So the products API, it started running. It started running, it started, but the MongoDB is up and running. And you have pods, and some of the pods are multiple. See, this is one, this is coming up, and you see the replica set, which will ensure that the desired set of instances or pods are up and running. And you have the stateful set, that's the thing. We will come here, this is very important, you need to understand that. You have the MongoDB and your products API. This is a load balancer, and it is the external IP is this one. So how do you know that? you can come here, you see, refresh it, there's a public IP. When you get into the public IP, you see this configuration. This is the one is uh, which is hitting it. Now we can come back to this load balancer and go to the front-end IP configuration. If you go to the front-end IP configuration, this was the one outbound rule from the cluster. This is the one which is inbound, which is going and hitting. You see that. Okay, that's the front-end configuration. The key thing is you see the backend pools. Inside the backend pools, you will have this Kubernetes. Okay, and health probe, it does the port, and that's what we will see. It is 30591. Now, when we go to the Kubernetes, you see that 30591. You see that it does the health check on that port. Where did I see that? Yeah, here, 30591. And the load balancing rule, when it comes to the load balancing rule, it has got this rule. And when we go into that rule, that's where it is doing 80/80. And internally, the health probe is 30591, which we see that's here, 30591. And is it ready? I think it's ready. So now we can go and check the API/v1/products. Got the products. This is coming in from the Kubernetes cluster. Now, one thing what we can do is we can come back to our Visual Studio Code. We don't need to take that much pain without even knowing any command. What we can do is, let me go and delete that. Delete it. Now let me go to this Kubernetes cluster and connect. Get this guy. Come back over here. And this Azure Bastion, trying to do this extra step. Okay, connect it. It gets the credentials, and then you will see the context. So once you set this, see the context has been merged. You see this one, and the same thing if you go to this Docker. Here also in the Docker, you can see that rightmost click on this, the Kubernetes. The context has been set to this one. Now whatever the kubectl command we executed, that goes and executes against the AKS. Now, if you don't know the commands, you don't need to worry. See this here, right in your Visual Studio Code. Expand the namespace, which you saw in the Azure portal. Okay. Now expand the nodes. You're getting it. There are 2 nodes. That's pretty good. And you see this. The products API is here. You see in the virtual machine 0, it has created the MongoDB, and it distributed. And the products API is here. Now rightmost click on this. Okay. Now you do get. You see the command kubectl get pod, the namespace wide. Now you're getting the public IP also here in the wide, and you don't need to worry about it. Now see this describe. Now you go and click on describe. See, it gives all this information. What is the memory, CPU, everything, and what is the logs, everything. Now you want to see the logs. Rightmost click on this. Click on logs. You're getting log. Run. There you go. I told you, isn't it? Nowadays tooling are making us pretty lazy. Now from commands we are going to click mode. That's it from my side. I can go for next 2 hours also.
Yeah,
Vishy Pyro, that's the GitHub. You'll have all the repositories. Okay, VISHIPAYOALLOR. That's the same in Twitter. Same spelling.
Yes. That's what we.
There will be a tour where we had just Delhi conference. So this time around it was Chennai just happened, Hyderabad today. Next is Mumbai, and then Jaipur, and then Delhi is the biggest one that is happening on 14 and 15. Anyone of you got a chance to look at the conference page by any chance? Just Google it. C# Corner conference, right? It is happening on 14, 15, as you can see, and if you can visit, it will be great opportunity if you are into techies, okay, and of course experts. That's a good opportunity. If you can plan, it will be a good investment on yourself, right? I can relate, before 6, 7 years back, I was going, and the kind of learning I got was immense. So, it's a good investment, I would say. Just see what any more details we have.
No, I think you have to connect your laptop. Is that what you want?
Yeah, I can show that page.
That's
Suddenly, there's a connectivity here.
We can show it, but first take your session.
There's no, he's not talking about it.
So let me open that.
I don't know, but I feel I have come in Shimla. It's very cold all of a sudden, isn't it? It feels like Shimla. You want me to switch it off? No, it's okay.
So folks, here you go. This is the screen, okay? So this is the detail about conference, as you can see here, schedule. And here you go for, if I talk about daily one. So it's like, it is on 14, 15, and also 16. So there are 3 different tracks, as you can see: cloud, G#, and front end. So, and there are sessions, around these tracks throughout the day. So this was 14. 15 also similar things. Then I'm also presenting session there on 15. And 16th as well, we have kind of crypto conference, we call it. So it's a 3-day packed agenda, and it will be good if it was on yourself, you can make it, right? We look forward to host you as part of the Japan family.
And since we are patent, since these meetups are like of no charge, these are free, but these conferences are paid.
Yes.
Right. But and then those are affordable. But since you all have made it over here, and if you can make it to Delhi, we'll make sure it's absolutely free for you guys, right? Because you've already come to learn. And if you show up in Delhi, I know it's very short time. You guys can just get it. It will be free of cost for you all.
Just manage about your travel. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Thanks for Simon for this.
And my team, not me, just everyone at Just
That's fine, but since
Yeah.
you're representing, right? So yeah, thanks for it.
And,
Okay,
yeah.
that's pretty much.
And we have pizzas in the end, right? So
Yes.
don't rush after this.
Look forward to see you, at least some of you. And yeah, thank you.
He's going to copy your secret code. After that time.
I'm not sure, but it doesn't have USB.
No, I can't connect because I have a USB. Unless you want to put in your.
Of course.
That's what you do.
But everyone.
Make sure it is.
So good afternoon, everyone. I think we had a great session from George, Sunderbhai, and the other person. So I think with this, like George mentioned about blockchain and other technologies, there are resources that are required. Definitely, I'll have a one-to-one separate discussions with him because we need all those resources in our tenure. It's that first I'll give my introduction. I'm Lalit Bansal. I've been running software development company since 2007. We have started our business from web and mobile app development, and later on, after completing a decade, we jumped into blockchain. We have developed multiple products in blockchain, which includes centralized exchanges, decentralized exchanges, NFTs, metaverse, gaming, and all. Which even George has mentioned that how DevOps, these React.js, .NET, because these are the languages that are required. And there are some misconceptions that only a separate blockchain developer is required. But definitely, 90% of the work is being done by our code development. Either it could be .NET Core, right, from the back end. People are using even PHP. People are for front end, it's about you can work on Angular, you can work on React.js when it comes to Web3. Okay? So it's not that that you have to particularly learn anything. But yes, with all these things, you have to have an additional knowledge and coding capability, which is called solidity. Solidity is basically where we are creating the codes, the smart contracts. Because everything in this blockchain aspect is done through smart contracts. That even while playing the games, which we say it as a metaverse, so you are getting benefits, you are getting the currencies through these smart contracts on. Because everything is coded. Earlier, I would say that in 2017, it was just a simple smart contracts which are delivered based on that you can just buy and sell. Nothing else. To promote it more, along with C Sharp Corner, and we are organizing this event, BCrypt. This is totally Web3 NFT Metaverse event, which will be holding all the events parallelly with C Sharp Corner. Because for both the events, C Sharp Corner is the main founder who is handling both the events. People who wanted to learn about blockchain are most welcome, and especially this C Sharp community, they will be benefited because we are launching our own token. I think most of you, if have seen these both the studies, you would have seen the common name as Sharp platform. So Sharp platform is for C Sharp, guys. I'll just give you a brief that what all we will be doing, and later on at the end of the video, there would be a QR code that Mahesh sir and others, they wanted to have your feedback. That's a small survey of 10 questions only, right? Immediately. So this was about Sharp token, which indicates everything that we would be doing on the Sharp platform. It will help you to, you can spend these tokens for getting the jobs, for posting. You can earn while you are earning points while posting on the C Sharp Corner platform. The similar type of points you will be getting over there. You can, we also have a e-commerce platform, which I think most of you know about Throughput. So even we will be introducing those tokens. With those tokens, you can buy these GoPure products. So I'll request everyone to just have filled this survey. If you can scan the QR code.
Do we have something to give away?
Who is it? Yeah.
What is that?
So everyone will have a pizza party.
Oh, that's very nice. Yes, we have some features that people to give away.
Yeah. Digital pizza?
Yes, that makes no calories. Calorie free, no?
I
You
know.
can eat it all you want.
I love that. I know, but it won't work for you because you are adapting.
Cheat and tell lies because all of your lies will be in the ledger. Yes, royal wedding.
You're telling now that I'll be rich if I write on
Of
C#
course,
corner.
of course. When is the biggest question, but definitely even you could say that the Bitcoin was launched in 2008. But even at that time of people used to, one of the person has spent like thousands of BTC to buy a single pizza, and now it is celebrated as World Pizza Day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
By
if
who-
you
by
check,
who?
pardon?
By who?
Oh, you know, let's take some
This-
World
Wait,
Island
this is
Day.
fun.
World Island Day.
Yeah. And now everyone knows that if we consider it an INR, it's worth of 1.5 million, 20,000 USD, single Bitcoin. However, it has fallen from $62,000, but it's all a game about pumping and definitely dumping. But it's that we as a community are the persons who make it either pump or dump.
So it's like if I write on C# corner, I don't know about it, so I'm asking. If I write an article on C# corner and I get, let's say, 100 points, right? That's what we get. We get 100 points for writing an article on C# corner.
Yes.
So instead of that, you're going to give me 100 tokens, right?
Yes.
So when I get that 100 tokens, what do I do with that? Can I put it in some of the exchanges?
Can I buy pizza?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So it's that we will be listing on this on exchanges where the trading will happen, and definitely once the trading will happen, it's always about the demand and supply game.
Okay.
We have ample supply, and there will be lots of benefits included, which may be like staking, buying of these NFTs. NFTs are the avatars. By playing games in metaverse world, you can earn more. Like you can earn while writing these articles. We have e-commerce portal that these coins will be linked. So definitely you will be getting discounts and everything, which is yet to be disclosed because the purpose was to disclose this sharp platform was on 14th, 15th, and 16th. There's just that I wanted in every city that we go, we give them an overview about what Sharp community is doing more by getting into these digital currencies. I hope everyone has done. Also, we have
While you're at it, can you open up the password stuff text?
Ah.
And everyone will scan it.
So also in this event and the C# conference, we are being supported by Sun Crypto. It's one of the Indian exchange that has started their business, and they are growing better in India. Also, they will expand. We are in discussions. Maybe we would be listing a Sharp token on this exchange also. So it's that if anyone wants to sign up, they again can scan this QR code. They have the application on Android as well as iOS. You can have your accounts, get your KYC done, and the process is very easy. And so anyone who wants to scan this code also, or if you want to take the photograph, you can. After this, we also have one of our most sponsor, which is sitting over here. It is known as MOI, My Own Internet. And instead of speaking about MOI more by myself, I would request the person to come over here and give you a view about MOI, and definitely he will be the one who will be giving away some goodies for this.
So, as I'll just pull up the website.
No.
If you don't mind.
Internet is not.
Okay. Can I connect to my? Sure. I'm so concerned. What is going on? No, it's great.
Oh my goodness.
Cool.
Simon, that's like you're not using that dark theme anywhere.
I'm disappointed.
How would I pull this up?
It's probably one of those
Oh,
17,000 tabs.
I can read it from here. I'm not what. I don't know if you guys can read it, but I can read it from here. Everything that's written.
Good.
Yeah, I can.
Make any sense?
They didn't scale it down.
Okay.
Put this place in, and then change the scales like the medium one.
Yeah.
Put the one in the middle, now we'll drop it down.
Yeah.
Connect the no-op-man Wi-Fi.
CSS failed.
Okay. I'll just put it off. Okay, right, but it doesn't work. Okay. So, hi, I'm Rahul, basically. I'm a core protocol developer at Moi, basically. So Moi is the world's first context-aware global value network, and I'm also a contributor to Polygon and a couple of other open source projects. My key areas of interest are consensus algorithms and peer-to-peer networks. I mainly contribute to research and develop consensus algorithm. So I hope all of you have some basic context on blockchains and Web3, or do you want me to just give a small intro for a minute? So why we need blockchains, or why do we need Web3? How do you want to take it?
Yeah.
Give an intro.
Yeah.
So, right, internet is evolving, the way humans communicate every day is getting better and better, right? So let's go back a little bit and see how, I just told you that we are building a global value network. What is value? Value is just not economical, it is not just a token, but what is exactly value, right? So let's go back. I guess most of you are here are aware of the barter system, right? So where you give some goods and exchange something else, right? So that was good, right? Why did we move away from that type of ecosystem to something which is centered around a currency, right? The biggest problem with the barter system is it's not efficient, it's not scalable, and the value that you perceive in barter system cannot be recognized globally. For example, let's assume I'm based out of India, I'm exchanging a kg of rice with a kg of tomatoes. So this value is just personal. It is just personal for the two people who are involved in that particular trade, right? And it has nothing to do with the person sitting in New Jersey or the person sitting in Sydney, right? So that was a bigger problem. So if you want to trade over the globe, if you want to build something where people can recognize the value across the globe, it was not possible in barter system. So what we have cleverly moved is basically we started recognizing value in some other form, basically your currencies today, which are backed by organizations or entities and governments. So today that entities ensure that this is the value of a dollar, this is the value of a rupee, or this is the value of yuan, right? So these entities are basically the trusted entities. They ensure the values is stable, or they try to ensure that the value is secure. And with this value, you can now measure what is the actual value associated with the trade, right? For example, now I say, okay, I'll get a kg of tomatoes for $1 or a kg of rice for a couple of dollars, right? So that is how our the way we trade, the way we interact has changed, right? Now, okay, now what is the problem in this type of systems? The biggest problem in this current systems or current internet is very centralized, right? So if you see back in 1990s, the internet was just a way to transfer some information. Now it has evolved a lot, right? 90% of our, I would say 99% of our current day work is completely on internet, right? It's not just images that you download. You do a lot of stuff, right? So internet has been evolving. The way people communicate has been evolving over a period of time, right? But now at this point, internet has become more than a supportive actor. It has become a primary actor, right? Today, you name everything, right? All of our business models are evolving around internet, right? Because if you see a lot of the startups today in 2000s and 2010s, they are big. Google, you say all the big companies basically are the businesses which are running around internet, right? So the biggest problem in current internet is basically it's very centralized, right? And internet is just value. It's just information transfer. It is not value transfer because value is very specific to the people who are interacting. For example, what values to me, what $1 is value to me may not be the same value to you, right? So value is very specific to the participants involved in it. So today internet cannot capture it, basically, I would say. So, or it is not effective in capturing it, right? So that's where people have come into picture and Satoshi. Yeah, there are a lot of attempts before Satoshi, but Satoshi Nakamoto basically proved that in an open environment, I can do some sort of value transfer where people can recognize the value of the token that I have done globally and can verify it, right? That's where this value economics got started, the value networks got started, and Bitcoin was one of such famous network, right? And after that, you know about Ethereum. Vitalik has come and said, that's great. You just brought up an economical value. I want to general purpose it by building a general purpose computer on top of it. That's where your smart contracts come into picture. You can deploy any sort of logic, right, on smart contract, and you can build any type of use case on top of it. But that's great, right? So now, cool. You just moved from an economical value. Now you're able to run good contract logic on top of it. But what is the problem? What is the issue? So, you know, what is a transaction throughput on Ethereum? How much time it takes? It takes somewhere around 12 seconds, right? And will you wait 12 seconds to just confirm something? Today, our response times, a typical API response times are in milliseconds, right? A couple of hundred of milliseconds, right? But in Bitcoin or Ethereum, you need to literally wait for a few minutes and 2 hours. Okay, that's where the current blockchains are. Yeah, so this great Satoshi has introduced a new system to do, but how do we make it more efficient, right? So we started this organization in 2017. Our founder Anand Krishnan is also is also one of the core partner at Ascension, Anderson Consulting and CEO for CTI India. He started building applications on top of Ethereum, a hedge fund management application and a lot of applications, and he recognized the fact that this is far away from the reality, right? Today, the hedge fund management system does a lot of value transactions, and it is far away from the reality. Today, current blockchains cannot keep up to the mainstream Web2 mainstream applications, right? All the code that you're writing on C# is very, very powerful, right? Today, most of the blockchains cannot support it. Solidity has very, very limited capabilities. Do you trust me? You can't perform float operations on Solidity, okay? Right? So that's how blockchains are today, and we started understanding this by building the applications on blockchain, and we understood the foundational problem with current blockchains. The foundational problem with current blockchains is they are very systemic. What Vitalik has assumed, right, building a general purpose execution environment and deploying it on a decentralized network or a distributed network will solve most of business use cases. That's not true, right? Because every business has its own set of requirements. For example, we always take this example. Let us assume we are doing a property purchase, and at the same point of time, someone is purchasing a house. These two transactions are absolutely different. Their economical values are different, the trust requirements are different. If you're waiting for a coffee, you don't even want to get it verified by like 10,000 people. If you're buying a house of $1 million, you absolutely will spend more time to get it verified, right? So that these two transactions are different, completely different. But most of the blockchains today treat them in exact similar fashion. But it's just like an information sitting in a contract and you do a value transfer, right? But that's not how humans operate. That's not how humans communicate, right? All human interactions are driven by context, right? For example, our conversation today has some context, and the conversation that I'm going to have with my friend after this conference is going to absolutely have a different context, right? That is which makes human interactions most efficient, effective, secure, and scalable, right? So, but no blockchain is capable of doing that today, right? So that is the foundational problem. That's the reason why blockchains cannot scale. That's the reason why you see a lot of issues on current blockchain systems, right? So we are set up to solve exactly this problem. We started doing research. We understood the foundational limitations in blockchains. We started with the data structure. The current blockchain data structure is very limited. It is a lot of I don't know how many of you are into the data structure, but since most of you are API people, I'll just tell you today technically blockchain, all the accounts in today's blockchain in Ethereum or any world state blockchains is technically an entry in the database. If there are 10,000 people, you just update one table in the database. How foolish it is. How can you achieve speeds like that, right? So that are the foundational problems, and we completely took a different approach. We started building a participant-centric blockchain where every person has their own chain, and we started writing a new consensus algorithm around this particular data structure. We started writing a new language. Basically, we're writing a new language called Coco to facilitate human-like digital interactions. You have seen from Rohit regarding the metaverse, right? Businesses are absolutely moving to metaverse, right? But now metaverse need to support human-like interactions. Otherwise, there's no reality, right? So that is a problem, right? So our protocol, one, is completely foundational. We have a new data structure, new algorithm, and a new execution environment altogether. So it's completely different from any existing blockchains. And I've been on this for quite some time, around 3 years. So as I told you, we started working on the data structure. We had a new data structure, and later on we understood the problems in current consensus algorithm. I don't know how many of you are from computer science background, but in distributed systems, in DFT-based agreement mechanisms, a quadratic problem. No one can solve it. So if you want to have 10,000 node network, it's highly impossible because of the BFT problem. If you want to get agreement in an open network, you need to have this quadratic problem, right? So, but how are you trying to build? How are you trying to build protocols which are going to have 10,000, 20,000 nodes? If there are no nodes, basically if the network size is very less, there's no value for it. Blockchains have a lot of value only when the networks are very big, right? So that is what we are set up to solve, and we are developing protocol. Our alpha testnet is out. We are currently working on beta testnet. I request you to check out our website. It's Moira Technology, and join our Discord, Telegram. You get to know, and we are also hiring. If people are interested to work at a core research and research for blockchain protocols, we're more than happy to host you. And yeah, I have some things to give away to you. I have this cool T-shirts of my Hyderabad. To get this, basically you just need to. Okay. I have a QR code.
They'll provide with the QR code, and I think you have to sign up.
Yes.
Those who are interested, they can sign up and get the goodies that.
Yeah, and if you have any doubts, if you want to learn more about blockchains, please join our Telegram and Discord. Good. Any questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
You said you were writing a new language called Coco.
Yeah.
What are you writing? I always love this question. What are you writing the language in?
Basically,
What
the
language
compiler.
are you using to write the language?
Yeah. So the compiler is written in Rust. I'm not a C# guy, so trust me, I have zero basics on C# and stuff. I'm more into systems guy. I code in Go and Rust. So we are writing the compiler in Rust, and we are writing the runtime basically in Go. So that is all. Complete protocol is written in Go, more or less, because we're a highly concurrent protocol. So it's very high concurrency. So everything is basically.
If it's going into like concurrency, why are you doing the API in Go?
Because Go has the best concurrency model out there.
Well,
It's a lightweight concurrency model.
yeah, but the problem is that Go has it uses garbage collection.
Yes.
And therefore, you're going to see this as a big problem
Yeah.
in your distribution patterns. So tell me how you're doing this.
So basically, we wrote our own serialization mechanism like protocol buffers, right? So Go has a lot of problem in terms of garbage collector. The runtime basically typically the where we run a virtual environment to run Coco code has a lot of issues. Even the serialization mechanism, our serialization package is written in a couple of languages, but it has been primary implementation in Go that has become a nightmare for us to manage the serialization. But the way we are looking at it is Go is a ready-to-go language at this point. We want to launch a primary client in Go, but eventually we want to move it to Rust, where you have complete control in terms of garbage collecting. Rust doesn't have garbage collector; it's very open. So we want
Because you don't need it, because you're in control.
Yeah, basically we want to have more control. We want to do it, but at this point, it's very tough to code a protocol from scratch with a very minimal resource in Rust. You need a lot of support. The packages are not very effective. The package management is completely not effective. When we started, Go was by far a highly concurrent protocol language available out there. But soon we'll be migrating into Rust and other protocols as well, other languages as well. Yeah, and that is it. And there are a lot of challenges that we are facing in terms of DevOps. Because I told you we're a highly concurrent protocol. Basically, we are planning to support. We want to launch our testnet with 50,000 nodes. So
You need to talk to Swami about this.
yeah. So basically, current challenge in our protocol is to test this protocol. It's a highly concurrent and highly parallel protocol. So we need to test it on a bigger numbers. So we need more and more number of nodes to test the performance of the protocol. So we are exploring all the DevOps infrastructure. We are looking at HashiCorp stack primarily. But yeah, if you guys can lend me some help in terms of observability and all other stuff, it would be great. Thank you guys. I can get you the QR. Please scan and take your goodies. Right?
Thank you. And now I will request our special guests to come over here. Alan, Agnes, and George, of course, to come and say a few words about this blockchain technology, C# corner. Please welcome. Alan?
I'm holding hands.
We are matchmaking.
Alan, please. George. Alan?
You want to start running this?
What are we doing?
I just wanted you to speak a few words about blockchain and C# corner community. Make people more enjoyable.
Okay. Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay. So, the little mini team that we decided as a traveling cohort to talk about was community. And the fact that it's amazing that today, for one of the first times in nearly 3 years, we were able to get together in a room today, which is fantastic. And so many people are now used to working from home. And because of the fact that we haven't been able to join together in rooms, and we've been doing so many different things remotely, especially the young people who are in the industry have missed out a huge amount, okay? They've missed out connections, they've missed out experience of networking, they've missed out experience of getting mentors, local gurus, etc. Being able to walk past someone and saying, excuse me, that looks interesting, what are you doing? Can you teach me? Can you show me, right? And this is incredibly important, and it's something that we need to get back to. And the most important message that I want to give is that it's time now to double our efforts on community, especially to help the younger folk who are there, because they've lost 2 or 3 years, and that means that the industry has lost this, and it means that people who have either gray hair or no hair, like me, have harder work to do. So anybody who knows something, if you're an expert, okay, does anybody know what an expert is? An expert is somebody who knows one sentence more than you do. That's all, nothing else, right? If they could say something that you don't know in a subject you don't know, then as far as you're concerned, they're an expert, okay? This is why AI looks like magic, but it's not. It's just if, then, else, okay? So it's really important that when you know something that you share it and you tell it. And it's important that we try now to put new life back into our community through meeting in person and through sharing and work, through encouraging people to come, you know, back to the workplace, even if it's only on a part-time basis, because this is a new normal, okay? And we've got to still figure this out. And there's not just physical issues, there's mental health issues, there's all sorts of different things that we have to now deal with around this. So it's really important to find out new ways of bringing people together and keep writing those articles and keep putting out videos on YouTube and up on C# Corner and talking about things like people think about, you know, Bcrypt or Sharpcoin and think, oh, crypto. It's not so much about crypto. It's about blockchain. It's about ledger, and it's about proving things. Okay. So how do you know that somebody, the bank says, no, no, you took your money out of your bank ATM last week? And you can say, prove I did. Right. So there's all these different things that we need to be able to connect as a community to understand what they mean. So it's really important that we build on community. So that's my little part about community, and it talks about re-engaging with younger people and making sure that we do our best to keep talking. So maybe you would talk about the global Azure and the challenges there and how we can help with that.
Absolutely.
Do you want to swap to the middle?
I can. Hello. So yes, community is kind of, it's almost my life, honestly. The way that I learn is by sharing with everyone else, and in return, I get what they know. So just share and care. Sharing is caring is a classic expression here. And again, what we notice now with community events, such as the Global Azure Community Event, and C# Corner chapters and many locations have always been part of joining with the Global Azure event every year that it is running. And what it essentially is many, even hundreds of locations around the world doing an Azure event at the same time. We've been able to get some global sponsors, we've been able to get some locations doing the same lab across the globe, around the world. And there have been locations here in Hyderabad, there have been locations pretty much everywhere. And then we see with the pandemic that it is hard, that communities are struggling out there. And it is difficult to do online events, it's difficult to get any attendance, it is hard to get any presence, and that takes away such a key central thing that we must very much need as technologists, because we need to be able to talk to people of our own mind, not just normal people, right? We're geeks, right? We're the leaders, we're the tech wizards, but normal people don't understand our language. So we need to find people that can speak the language that we talk, technology. And that we find in the community when we meet and share and join and do things such as this. It's a good example. And we saw in the global pandemic that global Azure, being also global, is not doing so well, because all the community leaders are struggling to find, you can't meet, you can't see each other, you can't sit down together. So it's all virtual, and that's difficult too. Now what we probably need to do a lot, and I love that your comment, no wait, your comment? You moved to a new city, right?
Yes.
And started a community.
Yep.
As an example, right? If there isn't any active community, then start being active, trying to find a place to meet, trying to find something to talk about, and figuring things out. Or a conference room in a co-working location, for example, meet and share. Start that up again. It's probably just a bump in the road that community is struggling right now, and I think it's going to bounce back. And that is the way for introducing, especially the new generation, the next people that are coming into the industry, to share and build networks and talk together. So I would urge and encourage everyone to step back into that as much as possible and set up meetups and do all the kinds of things that we need to do to learn. Because again, it's almost the only way that I learn these days. Only exclusively from my peers, from people like yourselves, show me what you're working on, kind of mentality.
Quite true.
Yeah, it's quite true.
Magnus was doing something sitting beside me today,
In
and
fact,
he just sitting down in the back, and he said, "Look at this cool thing." I went, "Oh my God, that is like mind blowing." And he was, yeah, well, here's a link, and it's going to change a complete direction of how I do stuff with certain teams now. So it's like, if I didn't, it's not serendipity, it's not luck that I met Magnus here today. We engineered it. We engineered to sit down and to talk about tech, okay? And this stuff falls out of that. And some people will say, hey, there's already, too many meetings, or everybody talks about the same thing. They don't. Everybody has their own little angle, and all you need to do is get together and to talk. Joe, would you talk to us about how to put together a local group of people? Where do you even start?
we've been doing it for a while.
Just a little bit. So I've been doing it for about 20 years now, putting together groups and
What were you doing 20 years ago? I'm kidding.
Probably wasn't even born at this point. That's not giving up.
Joe, when I move to the center,
Sure. By the way, you're
Thanks.
so it's really easy, but it takes a lot of work, and that sounds kind of counterintuitive. But the simple thing is just finding a space and talking. Might cost you a little bit of money up front, because I'm guessing this space is not free, but usually get a sponsor or someone local, maybe your employer, they're looking to hire people, or
Be quick, guys, they definitely want to sponsor.
yeah. But it's about finding people that are like me. If you have a TikTok or Insta account or something like that, start finding people local that are in the same interest as you. Say, hey, we're going to meet at the Starbucks, or we're going to meet at this. And then as you start growing, and maybe you're whatever, 20, 25 people that are in this room, then you start looking out. Once you start having those connections and start getting people together, then you can start looking for sponsors. The other thing is consistency. A lot of user groups succeed and fail based on how regularly they meet. If you meet like on a Tuesday one week, and then next month meet on a Wednesday, then the third month you kind of don't meet, then the fourth month you meet on a Friday. People can't plan around that. So pick a time and date that works for you first. Then you can start incorporating other people. Do something once a month. Do something once a month.
That's going on the internet.
We know each other a long time. Do something that works for you and it's consistent. Like me, it was totally selfish. I moved to a new area. I moved from New York to Phoenix, which is halfway across the US, if not all the way across the US. And I wanted to meet people. I just started a new job, had no one in that spoke the same language as me, like we talked about. I needed other people to do that. Plus, I want to learn some new stuff. So I got other people minded around me to start learning. And then I started finding more people because, hey, we all have that need. Like I was saying in my keynote, we're all humans. We have this desire to be connected. Sometimes not connected to all the same people, but still connected at some point. So find the people that are like-minded like you. Could be at work, just one or two people that you find around the typical water cooler. Get together, continue those conversations. Then maybe pull it out where you start getting others into it. And after a while, it really pays off. Like Magnus, I've learned the majority of my stuff from just these conversations and talking to other people.
Yeah. That's right.
So the overall message then is spread the word, get involved, share your knowledge, help each other, you know, and try and build groups.
Definitely.
Yeah, because there's power in groups.
Yeah. As they said in High School Musical, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Are you gonna sing and dance now? Is that
No.
No.
No. I already have one bad picture of the internet coming out of the video.
All right.
So thank you.
Thank you for.
Yes, thanks for coming, thanks for listening to us a little
Yeah,
folks.
and thank you for coming out because it's not easy in this new normal to get out of your seat and get into a place. So thank you.
And so like, I should try to do a group picture maybe, and then we go for pizzas.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody up around here for a group picture. Off your seats. Everybody up.
I'll be in the back. Tall people in the back.
Magnus is going to sit up here.
Mike.
Indian style.